Welcome to Where Her Heart Speaks, a show designed to challenge and disrupt ineffective thoughts and behaviors to help you not only embody peace, joy, calm, and certainty, but also to help you live the life you've always dreamed of living. Where Her Heart Speaks with Coach Catherine begins now.
Hi there, it's Coach Catherine. Are you feeling anxious about the upcoming holiday gatherings with your family? Yes, we are in the throes of the holiday season. And if you're feeling anxious, I want you to know that you are not the only one. These get-togethers, they often evoke emotions, vulnerability, frustration, and exhaustion. Like we leave these gatherings sometime downright tired. So this year, I just want to say to you, it doesn't have to be the same. It doesn't have to follow the same pattern. I have crafted a very impactful infographic to assist you in navigating these situations. In just 3 minutes, you can alleviate your stress by implementing one of 5 strategies outlined in this complimentary infographic. So I want to invite you to go to bit.ly the number 5 ways, the number 2 de-stress, and start releasing your stress right away. As an alternative, if you prefer maybe immediate support or one-on-one support, I'd invite you to go to www.calendly.com/Coach Catherine and book your free 30-minute clarity call. And I will say welcome and welcome back. I am Catherine James, international speaker, best-selling author, trauma-informed coach, and your host for this show, Where Her Heart Speaks. I am coming to you this week with yet another guest. So you won't get to hear just from me. You get to hear 2 voices. I always find that super exciting. You know that I always talk about how blessed I am when I am able to sit and share space as well as glean from the beautiful women that are put in this space here on Where Her Heart Speaks. So this week is no different. It's no different. I have a beautiful young woman who has overcome many challenges, but did not sit with that. She is using that to make a huge impact in the world. And so I am presenting to some and maybe for the first time or maybe reintroducing to others, Dr. Gail James. Dr. James, welcome.
Hi, how are you?
I am doing fabulous. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here with me. As you heard, I'm always excited to sit with women, hear their stories, as well as how they have overcome those stories and what they're doing with the things that they've experienced in life. So before we dive in, if you could just share with the audience a bit about you and what you do in this world today.
Hi, Dr. Gail James. I'm a wife, a mother, daughter, sister, all of that, but I'm also a servant of the Most High God, and that's my most important role. I'm a pastor, I'm a #1 best-selling author, but I'm also a CEO, entrepreneur, and I just love helping women get over their trauma. I think because I've been through it, I want to be the change that I didn't see when I was going through.
The change I didn't see. Oh, I can't even go any further. Elaborate on that. The change you didn't see when you were going through.
Um, because of my trauma, I decided God kept saying to me, "You have to be the change you seek."
Mhm.
To be the change I see. He said, "Yeah, you keep talking about it, but you're not doing anything." So I went back to school and earned my degree as a Christian therapist. And I'm licensed in Florida and in the Virgin Islands. And I have mental health practices in both places. And I also have a nonprofit that offers mental health to survivors of trauma, any kind of trauma.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So being the change that you couldn't see meant basically going back and utilizing all of what you had been through to shine your light now so that other people could see that and move forward. That's what I just heard in that.
Yes, most definitely. I would say that because I think a lot of times when we're going through the trauma, we don't see, we automatically see that. I can speak for myself. I saw it like, God, you just put me here to be abused. Like, this is crazy. Like, I just went from trauma to trauma to trauma to trauma. And I was like, I don't want to be here anymore. And I tried to kill myself twice.
Ah,
And I remember like I was getting beat that day by the
can
guy
I
that,
pause you? Can I pause you, please? And I'm sorry. Because I hear where we're going. And I just want to pause for a minute for those that are listening. I am always careful to give warnings as well as a tool. So if you happen to be listening and anything that is being said is disruptive, if it's making you uncomfortable, I want to simply invite you always to take care of yourself first. Taking care of yourself means sometimes discontinuing the call. So if you find that you are becoming agitated, or if you're becoming sad and it feels overwhelming, then discontinue the call. Take care of yourself first. Also, one of the things that I am careful to do when we start talking about trauma is to just give you a tool. So if you feel like I can manage this, I don't need to get off the call, but this does feel uncomfortable, it feels a bit disruptive, I want to invite you to allow yourself to get still. If you're sitting, place your feet on the floor and sit up straight. And I'll give you the one that I typically give on this show is you want to identify three things that you see. So draw all of your attention to three things that you see in your space. For me right now, if I were looking around, I see my computer, I see my mouse, and I see my phone. So identify three things that you see. And then identify three things that you hear. So get really still so you can hear. You can hear the sound of my voice. You'll hear the sound of Dr. James's voice. You may hear humming in the background or cars or something. Get still so you can identify three things that you hear. And then three things that you feel. That can be feeling internally or externally. And these things will draw you back to the center of yourself and regulate your nervous system so that you don't have a response if you are being triggered that will cause you to maybe get a little bit out of control. So identify three things that you see, three things that you hear, three things that you feel. And again, if after that you still feel very disrupted or dysregulated, go ahead and terminate the call. Taking care of you is most important. Thank you. Thank you for that moment and allowing me to interrupt you. So you said that you were getting beat and you were going from one trauma to the next, and you were wondering, why am I getting beat?
Mhm. I think because I just went through enough trauma, and so at that point I was like, this is too much.
Mhm.
And he was kicking me with steel toe boots on in my ribs and stuff. By that time I had already got kidnapped gunpoint with a 9mm gun. So I locked myself in the bathroom to get away from him. And I just went in there and I was like, I can't do this anymore. And I took a whole bottle of Tylenol and I didn't die. I just threw up. And so I saw a bottle of bleach under the sink and I drank bleach. And yeah. So, I think for me, what what brings back to mind is like I didn't want to go through it. And I was saying that to get to this point. At that time, I didn't see it for what it was. What I went through was not for me. It was to help other people. But
Mhm.
at time it was just so overwhelming. Like I was just like ready to get out of here. I couldn't do it anymore. It was just too much. So
Yeah.
that's why I was going with that. I just think a lot of times when we're in it, we feel like, man, this is horrible. Why is this happening to me? But once you start your healing journey and you start to heal, you get to understand that it had nothing to do with you.
Yeah. Yeah. I find that to be very true. In my own story, I often will say, had I not gone through what I went through, I could not do what I do. Right. It truly helps me to connect to people. It helps me to relate. It helps me to sit in a space of compassion and not judgment. Right. And you are ever so right. When you're in it, you wonder how long. And I will say, as we shift a little bit, just to give us a moment of reprieve and breathe. uh, Sometimes it's not these horrific things, right? We can be in things that we are going through. Maybe we have our car taken away, maybe we lose our job. We can still be going through things that are hard, and going through those things for a long period of time and wondering, how long is this going to last, or why do these things keep happening to me? And we get into this kind of mindset like, woe is me. And there is so much truth in. I like to say what one of my coaches used to say, that I heard from a coach of mine: everything we go through happens for us and not to us. And when
I
we're able to, shift from this is happening for me as opposed to this is happening to me, I think it allows us to stand in a more empowered um, space, as opposed to a space of victimhood. So you went through these things, and I am just curious, how did you get out? So you tried to take the pills, that didn't work. You tried the bleach, that didn't work, because I believe God was saying, it's not your time. I still have things for you to do. So how did this part of life come to an end? This book, part of the book or page turn, and you move on.
um I would say some of it is still going on because I'm evolving and I feel like, I've learned forgiveness. I've learned forgiveness. I've learned in this long process that I have to forgive people for an apology I'll never get.
Mm,
And so the reason I'm saying it's not over is because I have 11 siblings on my mother's side that don't speak to me because
mhm,
they said I told the family secret.
mhm, mhm.
So that family secret being the molestation
Uh-huh.
by three of my male siblings. And so that was like, okay. And she didn't, I mean, one of them admitted. I was 10, he was 21. And she looked at me and she said, it was my fault. I wanted it. I knew what I was doing. And so I feel like even after the human services came and took me out the home, put me in a home for bad girls. And I
Mm,
ran away from the home because the girls were sneaking men in at night. And you sharing a twin bed with a girl and a dude. I'm like, it's not for me. So I left and they
mhm.
caught me. They brought me back. I ran away again. And when they caught me, they was like, if we put you back there and you leave again, you won't have to go back home to your mom. And I was like, shoot, either way, I'm in hell. So I'm gonna go back home.
Yeah.
And so I went back home and at 14, my mother broke my arm with a mop stick and then I left and I've never been back
Mhm,
home. But I learned to forgive even my mom. She's gone on, but in her sick before she passed, I flew to the Virgin Islands, round trip every week to see about her, take care of
mm,
her. And I asked the family for her, but the family, and that's why I say it's ever evolving. So I say it's not done yet because I feel like God chose me to be the one to break the generational curse. And one thing you got to know about being chosen by God is you're going to be rejected by man.
yeah.
And so I say it's not done because I'm still praying for them, all 11 of them, praying and hoping that they can get wisdom and clarity and salvation and healing and deliverance and forgiveness from our Father in heaven so that they can be happy. Because you can't be at peace like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to commend you for sharing the family secret. I was having a conversation with some friends. This was a few months ago. And this topic of childhood sexual abuse came up. And it's no secret now that so many families have this taking place. And people are staying quiet. In the conversation, I remember one of the ladies saying, why would people not say anything? And we have to start encouraging the children to speak, because if we don't, then the perpetrators continue to harm. And so I totally understand that comment. When God selects you, man will reject you. And he also, God will protect us. Right? That's the beauty of it. So sometimes we have to walk through
I agree.
that man's rejection, being
Mhm.
okay with man's rejection,
Mhm.
and totally basking in the fact and the truth that God is protecting
Yes.
us. And to be able to say that now your desire is to pray for them that they will heal. That's forgiveness. And that's forgiveness, the full essence of forgiveness.
So
And
just can't help it. I love them. I
yeah.
feel like it was just generational stuff. I mean, I didn't understand it until I got much older. Because God had to give me visions and clarity. And it's crazy because I remember saying to him, like, God, why she hate me so much? Why does my mother, she hate me, like hate me.
Mhm.
Took me back and he said, remember when she would take all y'all to Dominica to see your grandmother, and she would line all 12 of y'all up to kiss her, and your grandmother would come and push everybody out the way, get to this one specific child, kiss her, and then we the leftovers. So he said that was black sheepism. And the sad thing is your mother was your grandmother's black sheep.
Mm.
So when she see you, she see who she couldn't be. So I
Mhm.
was like, okay, so why then would she hear my brother, 21, say, yes, he did it, he's sorry, and look right over at me and say, it was my fault, and I'm 10. And he said, how many children does your mom have? I said, 12. He said, with how much daddy? I said, 6 or 7. He said, most by married men, right? I said, yes. He said, your mom was molested too. Your
Yeah.
mom is parenting from a place of pain and not a place of purpose.
Yeah.
So her problem is she's parenting out of pain because she never got healed. So when she look at me, I am the exact, I'm what she wished she could have been. She wish she could have stood up and told her truth and say, listen, this is what's happening to me. But of fear of rejection from her family, she didn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. As you were talking, I'm always curious about the lineage. I'm always curious because many times trauma doesn't start where it shows up. Many times there is a generational thing that's taken place. And we as humans can say, well, if this happened to that person, surely she wouldn't want it to happen to someone else. But the thing with trauma is our bodies, our minds only knows how to keep us safe. And if her not speaking is what she believed was going to keep her safe for whatever reason, then she could not tell. And here's the thing, and this is where I think I always step into that place of compassion, where she became angry with you. If her body is still saying to tell means that you are now in danger and you're her child, this is a whole nother spin, maybe. You're her child. She's, how could you do that? Now I have to worry about something happened to you because that was dangerous. Not consciously, unconsciously, because the body only knows how to protect itself.
I can definitely see that. I can,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's unfortunate because I have another sister in my family that I know it happened to. And I called her one day and I said, why don't you just tell everybody? Like, she's like, I don't know what to do. I said, girl, stop it.
Mhm, mhm,
Right
mhm.
there. I said, girl, stop it. I
Yeah.
said, all of this just to be the favorite, but I understood because she is the family favorite.
Mhm.
Everybody, she kept her mouth shut. And when I moved where I live now, I could never forget my oldest sister because my mom got 6 boys and 6 girls. And my oldest sister lived in this town, and she said to me, I was at her house, and she said, I was gone off to college already. Tell me what happened between you. And she called her brother name. I went to jail. And I said, so I told her what happened. And she was like, oh, I could see why mommy got mad. You told the family secret. I'm like, girl, it's not a secret.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
it makes, to me, in the back of my mind, I know it had to be happening before.
Yeah.
I'm child number 11. There's one in front of me, but the last 3 of us is for my daddy, who was married to my mom.
Mhm.
And so all the other ones, they have different dads, and they
Yeah.
came from an island, not in the U.S. We were born in the U.S. We're born in the U.S. Virgin Islands, and so it's just mind blowing to me that they would just move to the U.S. Virgin Islands and start doing that. They had to be doing that from before, like that. You don't just wake up one morning and decide that's what you can do.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just don't believe that. I think that's just what they do, and everybody just kept quiet. And I opened my mouth, and I'm not going to shut up. I'm sorry,
Mhm.
because it stops with me. I have children and I have grandchildren.
Yeah.
They're not going to be exposed to that.
Yeah.
Those generational curses are not my portion, and I
Yeah.
ain't claiming them.
Mhm. 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 Good. 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 And you don't have to be around them in proximity, which makes it a little easier.
And I used to for a long time. I used to, but
Uh-huh.
it started getting toxic.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when I realized that I thought I was healed, but I really wasn't healed, because when they call and they start talking crazy, I'm slamming doors and packing up in my house, being angry. And my husband told me that. I was like, oh no, we're not doing this. I
Yeah.
said, because I'm gonna have my peace of mind, my kids gonna have their peace of mind, my husband gonna have his peace of mind. We're not doing that. And
Yeah.
so just left it all alone. I like, unless I'm in a good, healthy place of mind, there's no need for me to communicate with y'all. Because it's not like y'all calling me to say, hey, how you doing? Y'all calling me to say, you got stuff all over the place. That's what y'all calling me for. I don't want to hear that. I
Mhm.
really don't.
Yeah. That's a point right there, that I don't know if we talk enough about, like the residue of trauma. Like you said, I was angry, slamming doors. So now it's spilling over into your household, and you have children who are now subjected to behaviors that are a result of what happened. This um, is something that definitely needs to be, I think, voiced, as well as help people to understand and looking at your behaviors. The good thing, when you have awareness, so you had someone there who could say, this is not okay. And so it makes you say, wait, yeah, this is not okay. But how many people don't have anyone there? Or if they do and they are still in such a hurt place, a wounded place, where they're resistant to even hearing
Mhm.
someone say, look at your behavior, look how this is impacting the children. Look how this is impacting those that you work with, or look how this is impacting you. Like when you can't get along with other people, you find that you're always angry, you always have to be right. These are what I call trauma responses. This is the residue of something that has happened in the body operating from a protective state. So kudos to you. And what I want to get to, I heard you say that it's not over. The abuse stopped.
Mhm.
And you said, I decided that I am going to be the light, basically, that I didn't see, be what I didn't see for others. What was the transition? Like, what took you from that abused spouse to this woman who said, you know what, I'm going to go back to school? And how is it that you found or maintain fortitude to stay in it? Because so many women who are abused have such low self-esteem. They're so broken and they don't feel like they can stand up and fight for themselves, let alone change the situation that they're in.
I think it started when I gave birth to my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So the same abuser that was beating me, that's my daughter's father, and he beat me while I was pregnant. My daughter was born at 6 months. I was 6 months pregnant. She was only 2 pounds. She was born 2 weeks before my high school graduation, and they said she wouldn't live past 1.
Mm-hmm.
She was diagnosed with cerebral palsy at the age of 1, and she is now 33 years old, still in a wheelchair, still in diapers, but she's here and she talks and stuff. So, and I think once I gave birth to her, it was like, this is nah, I can't. I just can't. I graduated in 1990 and I left the Virgin Islands in 1993. And I wasn't going back until my mom got sick. And once my mom got sick, I started going back, like traveling. And then after that, I ain't went back until I opened my businesses down there. And it's crazy how God does, because I never wanted to go back down there. And God took me back down there to open businesses and to do things in a place where they said I'd never be nothing.
Mm-hmm.
God is just he's amazing. I can't take no credit for it, because if I had my way, I wouldn't have gone. I'm just being honest. I would not have gone. 'Cause I had a breakdown. I'm be honest. I went back and opened my business in 2020, and I had a breakdown. I was passing where my mom used to sell fruits and vegetables on the highway, and I just lost it. I lost it. And my mom has been dead since 2007.
Mm-hmm.
But that thing you talk about, the residue, you got to stay tuned to certain stuff, because if you don't, that stuff will creep back up on you and you'll be in a state of depression and anxiety all over again. And so I was smart enough. I called my bishop, and he's a therapist. He's one of the therapists at my mental health agency. So I called the right person. So I was just like, I was having a breakdown. I said, why would God send me back in this? He's like, hold up. How much money you make? He liked to make jokes. And I was like, okay. So I told him, he was like, don't sound like a pit to me, sound like a palace. And that's where the name of my book came from the pit to the palace.
Yeah. Yeah, so I like to think that triggers are our teachers. I
Yeah,
don't know,
they are.
doing
They
something,
definitely are.
you know, and we run from them, and by way of avoiding, by way of ignoring, suppressing, and then they just show up. But the teacher this is still an area that's unhealed.
Yep.
And the task is to heal the wound, right?
Definitely.
Yeah, so let's talk about that book, From the Pit to the Palace. What tell me about it.
So the Pit to the Palace was me really telling my story. Up until my daughter was born, I didn't say anything until after my daughter was born, but it talked about the childhood sexual abuse. It talked about the rejection by my family, the abandonment that I felt from my mother, the shame, the guilt, and just feeling like I'm an outsider in this big family and I really don't fit. And I felt like I didn't do nothing to earn that. Like I didn't do nothing to be that to be abandoned or rejected. I just, it just happened. And the book clearly speaks of how I turned my trauma into triumph. Cause for me, the easiest way I could sum it up is everything the devil used against me that was meant for my bad, God took it and turned it into my good. And by that I mean I would have never gone to school for to become a therapist had I not tried to kill myself, had I not been depressed, feeling abandoned, rejected, shameful, low self-esteem, promiscuous. I would have never gone and got wanted to become a therapist. But I recognized that when I was going through, I didn't really have people. And so I wanted to be that person to other women because I didn't have that when I was going through. So now I own mental health practices in the US Virgin Islands and in Florida. And then my daughter, that was supposed to, I guess that was supposed to be a burden, but it was my blessing because I opened up my first group home at the age of 24, a group home for developmentally disabled individuals, which is what my daughter is, developmentally disabled. And I was making over $600,000 a year at the age of 24.
Mm,
So it led me into that. And now I have home health care agencies that are Medicaid and Medicare accredited. St. Thomas, St. John, St. Croix, US Virgin Islands, and Florida. So I dare not say it was me, but I know it's God that took all those things that were meant to break me and I used them to build me.
yeah,
And I am a much better woman today than I was back then. Still got work to do. I mean, we evolving every day. But
yes.
I would like to say that that's that. So that's the book in a nutshell. I didn't really talk about that I experienced a lot of health issues too, and I think I didn't talk about that because I didn't want I have my own opinions of it because I saw lupus trending all over the place. But I feel like for me, because they diagnosed me with it, and I went through a lot of things, but I feel it was directly related to my trauma. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, that's just the way I feel because I would get joint pains and swell up. Like I could be sitting here talking to you right now, and then the next 20 minutes you look around, I'm in a fetal position, swole up everywhere. And when I realized what brings it on, the weather change of weather brings it on, but it also stress. Stress
Mhm.
brings it on. And so I started having seizures. They took my license. They have seizures behind the wheel. They took my license. I had 6 strokes. I done had 9 blood clots. I mean, but I feel like my body was in self-preservation mode for so long. I
Yeah,
feel like now that's just my body reacting to like, because my norm was not normal. It
exactly.
seemed norm for me because my norm was chaotic, but my norm wasn't normal.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
now that my body is learning that, like, and I can tell because I guess I'm a therapist, I can tell. So it's like now things are just too peaceful, you know? But that's the self sabotage part of it. You know that, don't you? So that's the self sabotage part. And when I have my clients, I tell them that I'm like, we can't be out here waiting for a shoe to drop. You're waiting for a shoe to drop and nothing ain't about to drop because your mind is still in self preservation mode, fight, fight or flight,
Mhm.
and so I feel like that's what lupus is. I didn't go into it, but I didn't put that in the book, but I really feel like that's the book in a nutshell. It's just how I turned my trauma into triumph.
Yeah.
And God did it.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. I call self-sabotage self-protection. Um, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. While there are these diagnoses out here, they don't just show up. And Dr. Gabor Mate released a book earlier this year, The Myth of Normal,
Mhm.
that I absolutely love because he is really spelling out that trauma trapped in the body is causing so many autoimmune diseases, and pushing for the medical field to stop looking at the symptom and really start looking at the cause. And this is, why I think trauma for me is so dear, and I don't look at symptoms. I'm always talking about the cause, and it's not so much the event, because the event is not what's causing the problem. It's the energy that's trapped in us that's causing the problem. So it's going there. Um, if you have been a person who would not speak, like with Alzheimer's and ALS, what they're finding is that the nice people are the people that contract these diseases.
Mhm.
You're so busy trying to make everyone else happy, you never look at yourself.
Mhm.
When we suppress and we don't let this stuff out, it has to go somewhere. And so the body ends up turning on itself. It's not designed to harbor these energies, these emotions that are unhealthy. And society tells us you can't show that side of you. You can't tell family secrets. Like, you've got this, something horrific has happened, and you are supposed to just sit and act as though it didn't happen. When you go to family gatherings and you see this person, you're supposed to act as though it didn't happen. That is taking a toll on the body.
Yes.
And so I agree with you. And I believe that many of these diagnoses, and I'm doing air quotes, are a result of things that we have experienced and have yet to heal.
That's the truth because now that because I used to be on 28 different medications they had me on. I take in the morning and at night. The only medication I have to take now is that one for the blood thinner because they still haven't found nothing that could keep me from clotting. But other than that, I'm not on medication. I just listen. I prayed because one time I did dump out all the medication on my own mind, and God was like, "I didn't tell you to do that." And eventually, He tell me how to back, really, just trim them down, and I just stopped taking them. I don't take anything anymore. Actually, the seizures I got healed like that. My son reminded me. He said, "You forgot when the pastor came to the house and laid hands on you. You haven't had no seizures since then."
Uh,
And so I can look at it like I am in such a place of peace to the point where it's almost mind blowing. Because I come from a chaotic household.
yeah, but the word says he will give you peace that surpasses all understanding.
Better say it. Better say it. Baby, I go sleep good at night. I'll be like, what? I
Yeah.
promise you. I'm glad like that's not just me thinking that because I noticed it and I was like, this is all about my trauma.
Yeah.
Say, I'm not taking this mess. And then all these people end up on dialysis because the medication they give you mess up your kidney. And I had an island doctor, and because I'm from the island, they sent me to him. And when he heard my accent, he was like, "You have protein in your urine." I said, "How?" And he said, "Did you start any new medicine?" I said, "Yeah, they gave me this for lupus." He said, "Don't take that no more. That's the problem right there. That'll put you on dialysis." I stopped taking it. I had only been taking it a week.
Oh,
I
wow.
stopped taking it and went back to him. No protein in my urine. That
Wow.
same medication, the main medication they give people for lupus is why them people out here on dialysis.
Yeah. 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 There's so much to be said about Western medicine.
Yes, Lord.
And, for me in this moment, I would encourage people to really do your research. My dad has cancer, and we laugh because he says, well, they tried this medication, they trying this procedure, they trying that. I said, you have to remember, it is called practice medicine. They don't
That's
know. They
that's
don't.
what I'm talking about. You sound like me. That's what I said. I said they're practicing. That means they don't know what they're doing. They're practicing
But here's
medicine.
the thing, how can you know? And this is what I think about so many things. Not one person on this earth has the same fingerprint of all the billions of people, not one,
That's true.
which means that none of us are the same. None of these cells are the same. So one medication may not be the answer. It's going to interact. And this is just some of my deep, quiet thinking that I'm letting out the
No,
bag.
but that makes sense. That makes sense because unfortunately, I just lost my dad
Mhm.
in June to prostate cancer, and it
Sorry.
was rough for me because he was all I had. Like, I don't care what the family said or what they thought. He was my voice when I didn't have none. He was my feet, my hands. He was still married to my mother. But he would not. He would come and find me and beg me to come home. And I'd say, Daddy, I can't go there. That lady don't like me. And he never gave up on me. He just always, and that was another issue with them. Like they didn't like the relationship we had. So most of them say, I was my father favorite. No, I was my father's favorite. But I think my father recognized that difference of how my mom treat my other two siblings that she gave birth to, that's his compared to how she treat me. And so he would go the extra mile to make sure I was okay because he know she's not gonna do it.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So this has been a tough conversation that has gone in many directions that I didn't anticipate. I thank you for being vulnerable, sharing your story. To those who are listening, I want to say, if anything was said that resonated with you, that you've experienced, this is just a reminder that you are not alone. Like so many women have endured so much, and we have been trained, and I'm going to say trained, to stay quiet. We have been trained to suppress. We've been trained to suck it up. And not just women who are struggling with addictions and looking like life has gotten the best of them, but also women like Dr. James. When you look at her, you would have absolutely no idea that she's been through what she's been through. Women like myself, you would have absolutely no idea that I've been through what I've been through, but for sharing. And despite going through, we have a duty to use all of our experiences to help the next person. I really believe that. We've been protected, we've been kept, we've been saved mentally, emotionally. The number of people who don't make it emotionally or mentally. So there is a duty. And if you're still going through and you've not been able to make it to that place of understanding that it's happening for you, I want to encourage you to reach out. Before I ask Dr. James to share her information, I want to ask you, Dr. James, for women that are listening who have experienced some things, who knows someone that has gone through some things and are afraid for whatever reason, what would you say to that woman?
I would say the biggest thing would be to find a safe place to talk. Because I think that is the biggest issue is finding someone that you feel you can tell this secret to, that can either help you or point you in the direction of help. Um, I would say find someone that you can be vulnerable and safe with and let them know what's going on. And I would say for me, this is what worked. I prayed. Even when I didn't think God was listening, I prayed. Even when I feel like I wasn't doing the right thing, I prayed. Did I do what God was asking all the time? No. But I feel like that little bit of faith that I had, just a tiny spot, is what kept me. And so I would encourage you to love yourself. Get rid of the shame, the guilt. You are worthy. You are loved. And you deserve everything that life has to offer you. You didn't ask for this, and it was undeserved. I would say definitely find somebody safe to talk with. And if you have enough strength, that you can reach out to a therapist, a counselor, an agency that helps women or men that goes through these things, I would say do that so you can start your healing journey so that you can be the best version of yourself, your authentic self.
Yes. Yeah. I just paused to allow people to really take that in, to really take that in. Before we wrap, can you just share where or how can people connect with you?
If you'd like to connect with me, my website is Dr. as in Dr. Gail, Gail, James, James at gmail.com. Well, that's the email, at gmail.com. Or you can do the website at www.drgail, Gail, James, James.com. So www.drgailjames.com, or email is drgailjames at gmail.com. Facebook, it's Gail K. James. Instagram is Dr. Gail James. YouTube is Dr. Gail James. LinkedIn is Dr. Gail James. And TikTok is Dr. Gail James.
Okay. And I'll put those in the link for this episode so that people can find you. Just as I close, I just leave everyone with a little prayer. And this week, I want to reiterate what you said. I just pray that you will find a safe space. If you're going through anything, and if that anything is just that you feel depleted and you are not sure how you're going to keep going from day to day, if that anything is you are struggling with guilt, you are struggling with shame, or you've gone through some hard things in life that you have kept silent about, I pray that you will be able to find a safe space, someone that you can go to who will help you to move beyond that, that you will release shame, that you will release guilt, and that you will truly step into knowing that you are worthy of more. You are worthy of so much more than the low parts of life. I pray that you will start your healing journey. You will hold on to that tiny bit of faith. And I'm going to say tiny bit of faith. You are not here by accident. You are not here by accident. We have come to the end and you are still here. You are not here by accident. That you hold on to that tiny bit of faith. Raise your hand, reach out. And as we close, I want to remind you that in this life we get to choose. Choose to listen from the place where your heart speaks and choose to live a sensational life. Peace and blessings.
Thank you for listening to Where Her Heart Speaks with Coach Catherine, where Catherine aims to challenge and disrupt ineffective thoughts and behaviors to help you not only embody peace, joy, calm, and certainty, but also help you live the life you've always dreamed of living. Follow Catherine on Facebook and Instagram at I Am Catherine James and visit www.catherinejames.com. Remember, to live the life of your dreams, you must go within and return to the place where your heart speaks.